it pains me to say this, but
Rocket League is dying.
Slayer right on top of.
so we're gonna break this into, I would say, about 3 parts. Just talking about how the game is dying and go in depth with it. Number 1 is the casual community. The casual community is dead. Trading, in-game content, there's just nothing new for the player or the fan base to grab onto. Think about it. The trading community, the crate opening community, that entire side of the community is absolutely dead. Ever since Epic Games took over for whatever, either legal reasons or whether it be the whole like monopolization of like selling like these in-game items for their own profit and having their own Epic Game Store or whatever within the game, it killed the community, right? Selling so many different items and basically just killing the whole ecosystem within Rocket League trading. It's dead. So that portion is dead. There's no way to revive it. It's literally over unless like they did something. It's done. It's done. So that it's really unfortunate because that when I grew up in the Rocket League scene, that was one of the biggest things. Was you either played the game competitively or you tried to at least, or you were a trader and you traded items for either making a profit or working your way up to getting more valuable items. Like it was a whole system, and that was the 2 biggest things. Half of that's gone. Half of that's gone. All there is left is competing. There's no more trading side of the game, which is, I was never a trader myself. I won't even pretend to say like I was, but to take that many people away from the game itself, it does not help. It does not help at all. It really doesn't. And to add even further damage to the problem of just the casual gaming experience, there's not been any reason for anyone to play. Like, there's been the same, and I love it. For the competitive aspect of it, having this normal DFH style map or this normal, arena style map, beautiful. But for content, right, we need to have more content for the casual players, right? There's not been really any crazy new map added, for the casual player. There's not been any new game mode. There hasn't been anything crazy to play or new experience for casual players and viewers to enjoy. It's just been strictly basically competitive and new map designs as far as like the background, like the visuals, like the visuals. That's all that's changed and been added recently, and maybe new cars and DLCs, but like at the end of the day, like I said, nobody cares. Like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna come back to play Rocket League just because I get to play in a Bugatti. Like nobody cares. Unfortunately, I hate to break it to you, Psionics, but that's just not how it works. It's a cool thing. Like, don't get me wrong, it's cool, but it's not enough to like be like, damn, like that's what's gonna make me play the game. Like, no, it's just not. So that's the number 1 thing. The casual community is dead, and you can't blame the community. It's all on you. Like, there's just simply no other way to put it. Which leads me into the next thing, content creation, right? While I'm not going to sit here and defend all the content creators, because there are quite a lot of content creators that are quite simply either lazy or not creative at all. And like I said, there's a lot, but there's still some really great content creators within the Rocket League scene, and I don't want to discredit, those people, but at the same time, I can't even blame the content creators fully, because what content is there to make, right? Unless you're a pro player making pro gameplay videos, because that's the only thing really thriving right now is the esports scene. What else is there to cover? The news outlet, esports, Rocket League esports news is dead. Like, nobody cares. There's no drama, at least not enough that anybody would care about, at least on the global scene. There's really nothing to cover in Rocket League that is very that has room for exponential growth. Not to say that you can't sustain a good following or build a brand, but it's nowhere near the ability or capability of exponentially growing, which is very unfortunate. And just to like a little side tie-in within the content and casual community is Rocket League is so different, which makes it so unique and such an amazing game in itself, but it also is unfortunate because if you have an FPS, like a first-person shooter, you can have different players from different games that tie into each other. With Rocket League, there's nowhere to get any more potential players. It's literally just straight up Rocket League and Rocket League itself. There's no competitors, which like I said has its pros and cons, but right now we're feeling the con aspect of it because we've been so unique and so different. It's benefited, you know, the Rocket League scene so much, you know, through the beginning, but now we're kind of seeing the results of, you know, not having any competitive, of not seeing any competitor in the scene. It just makes it really tough to sustain that, not only audience but player base, just because there's no similar game. It's Rocket League or nothing, and you know, some people make that tough decision and be like, well, I'm just not gonna play it anymore. I want to go under. So like, it's tough. It's tough. And then the third one I would say is the Rocket League community, or the Rocket League esports scene is basically the Rocket League, basically Rocket League's last hope. The esports scene is literally all that there is left. Everyone came into Rocket League for esports. Well, it was a fun game at the beginning, but it transitioned into basically two things: esports and the casual content, like we were talking about with like the new game mode, stuff like that. And like I said, if you want to go check the numbers, dude. John Sandman, someone who has over 1 million subscribers, one of the absolute legends of Rocket League content creation, if not the legend, is struggling to pull out 30 to 50k views per video in Rocket League, and he doesn't even have the desire. Not only because obviously he's not getting the rewards that he, you know, is trying to reap, but there's just no new content for him. And even someone that's implementing new content, you know, trying his hardest, and I respect it, is Lethamir, with all the new maps and the new game modes that he's creating on his own without Psyonix's help. He's doing better than John, right? But he's still struggling. He's getting above 100k on some videos, sure, but for the majority of his videos, he's struggling to break the 50k mark. Really, and that just speaks volumes when our top content creators are struggling that hard, because there's just quite simply like I said, the casual scene is dead. Like it's just not. It's not alive anymore, you know, and I don't know there's really any way to revive it, to be honest. So like I said, the only thing that Rocket League has left for itself is the esports scene, because you've got a lot of organizations involved. So you bring in fan bases from organizations. You have a lot of, you know, fans that are interested in players, and you have a lot of fans that want to become a pro player one day. So that's kind of what keeps the cycle going as far as the competitive aspect and maybe some of the viewership. But even that is chalk, man. You look at the whole circuit and the whole way they operate with prize pools and just the overall system, and it's so flawed in every way you look at it, you know. And believe me, I'm not trying to sit here and complain, because at the end of the day, it is better than what it used to be, without a doubt. But there's so much room for improvement, and I believe there's so many players that have offered the Rocket League esports team help, or even, you know, suggestions, and it just doesn't seem to matter, which is probably the worst part of it all. That's usually when communities get upset the most, is when there just seems like there's really no proper communication between the developers and the esports team to the community. And that's what it seems like is happening right now. And believe me, I have like such a, and maybe I'll go into a whole new video, you know, maybe that's the next video, of just like what my idea of like the potential future for Rocket League esports could be, to help try and rejuvenate it and bring in more of a fan base and more of a, you know, culture. But that's something that's been lacking, and it's not good for the esport, and of course not good for the game, since the game is solely relying on the esport right now. So those are the tough things, and honestly, the sad thing is, if you know, it really reminds me of Call of Duty. Call of Duty used to be really thriving back in the Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 2 days, right? It was going crazy, but eventually they killed the content creation and the casual viewer and casual playing experience, you know, because you look at it back then, and the biggest difference between back then and nowadays, Call of Duty used to be fun for the casual player to go hop on, play with the boys, you know, play some pubs, and either go trick shotting or play some ranked play, or some, you know, league play, whatever it may be, right? Nobody says, oh, I'm going to hop on and play with the boys on Call of Duty. Like, oh, let's go play Fortnite, let's go play Valorant, let's go play Warzone. Like, nobody's talking about just playing straight up Call of Duty multiplayer anymore for fun. The casual experience is dead in Call of Duty, so therefore it relies solely on the esports community, and the esports community is such a terrible. It's been trying to improve, but the structure was terrible when they went franchising. I see a lot of similarities from Call of Duty into Rocket League, and the sad thing is like I grew up in both scenes, and like that's not a good thing. That is not a good thing for Rocket League at all. Because sure, while there may be a lot of potential with the esports side of it, like you still have to bring reason and value for the viewers to want to come and watch, and even the amateur scene and competitive scene to want to stick around and continue pushing to become a professional, right? If there's none of that and there's no value or not enough value, like there's so many reasons why people turn away from this game. And to be honest, Call of Duty is in a better space because, you know, there's more FPS games and there's more ability to transfer from that game to another game like Apex Legends or something. Even though there might be somewhat drastic, there's that barrier where, you know, they could transfer and switch and try out a different game that's somewhat similar, and with Rocket League that's just not the case, man. Like if you don't see or you know, if it's a risk management thing, right? If you graduate high school, right, and you're trying to either depend on whether you want to get a job or continue trying to maybe you know, competing in Rocket League, that's just not a thing because there's not enough security in the esport. Even if you are a pro player, there's not enough security, which is how the whole system is. And there's not enough like reward, in my opinion. Like, yeah, the prize pool's gotten better, but there's still not enough proper LAN events, in my honest opinion. Like there's so much that Rocket League can do, and the Rocket League esports scene can do, and I think I'll go more in depth about it in the next video. But it's a scary time for the esports scene, especially Rocket League esports scene, because it doesn't seem like there's much stability in it, and it doesn't seem like it's gonna last too much longer unless something changes within the game itself, or the esports scene chooses a better way to operate. But until then, honestly, if nothing changes, or, you know, there's no changes anytime soon, I think it's pretty sad to say, but the Rocket League scene is not going to last much longer, in my opinion. Like I said, I'm very hopeful. I really hope that it does, and I hope that I'm being pessimistic here, and I'm just looking at all the negatives and not many of the positives. But it's hard to look at the positives when the negatives are so overwhelming, and it's very, very easy to see unless you're blind to it. So like I said, I really hope that it can change. I really do believe that this is something that can be fixed, or at least something that can change. But at the end of the day, it's not really in my hands, obviously, or really even the community's hands, as much as we'd like to think it is. It comes down to the developers and the game itself, whether we can actually sustain this esport and this game to live much longer than it's looking like it's going to. So at the end of the day, I hope it lasts as long as possible, because I love the game. I've had a love for the game. I love playing it. I love competing in it and coaching and making content around it here and there. But until then, you know, we'll have to see. I'm just going to try to push out as much good content as I can, and try to be that extra X factor content creator that doesn't give you the same old boring, you know, competitive gameplay. That's what I'm going to try to do. That's my place in the esports, or that's my place in the Rocket League scene right now, on top of obviously competing at the collegiate level and coaching at the professional level. But outside of that, yeah, that's all I can do is hope and try to help out in the best I can. But hopefully that's it. You know, not too many jokes today in this video. It's just more straightforward and serious, and I just hope that this kind of can be fixed, hopefully. But I want to thank you guys for so much support on the recent videos and on my streams and everything. If you haven't already, check out some of the previous videos. Mean the world to me. But yeah, I thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really hope we can change this and turn this around. But like I said, there's not much we can do. But at the end of the day, I love you guys. Hope you guys enjoy the video. And I'll see you guys later.